Hey everyone, it's Joan here, and today's video is going to be photos that I'm going to share with you from my documentary class that were photographed in May of 2021. And I work on a bunch of projects, and sometimes it just like surpasses my mind sometimes, and I'm like, when I look back, I'm like, oh, I really want to share these, but I just sometimes don't know how, or I forget. But anyways, my fellow friend here on YouTube, Chris Gardner, Zone Focus, he put out a challenge in April for people to go out into their neighborhood and photograph. And at the same time, in my documentary photography class, each week we get a different theme for an assignment. And one of the themes were how we saw America. And instantly, as you hear that, that could go in multiple directions. And I wanted to take a very simple and minimal route and just document my neighborhood, because I felt that living in an urban city, that is how I always saw America. That's how, where I was raised and brought up. And even though there's much more to America, just in the time span of trying to do this project within my class, there's no way I was able to just travel all around the US, which I would have done to make this project really come to life. But I did what I could, and I want to make it simple. So I literally just was like, I'm gonna go ride my bike, because usually I drive my car, but driving my car, because I'm a responsible driver, I'm focusing on the road and I miss a lot of things. And whereas if I ride my bike, I could easily stop, look around. If I see something else that really captures my attention, then I'll go photograph that. And so I brought my Canon QL-17 35mm camera with Kodak Tri-X black and white film. And so we're gonna go through the photos, and I'll share with you the story behind them, because I feel that I usually share with you the journey of what it took to take a photo, but I don't really go into the mindset of what was on my mind when it came to photographing these photos. So when I first thought about where in my neighborhood I would document, I wanted to choose a very busy street that's pretty well known if you're in Jersey City, which is called West Side Avenue. And everything known to man happens over there, so it's really close to my house. And so I rode my bike, and I first kind of had landmarks, and the first landmark was to go to my local coffee shop, which is owned by my friend Frank. Shout outs to Treehouse. If you're ever in the area, you should check them out. And at the time, they only had outdoor seating, and they had a parklet, and so I was just like minding my own business, sitting there and drinking coffee. And meanwhile, there's customers waiting outside, because you could only have like one customer or two customers at a time inside. And then while I was like sitting there, I saw these two women sitting next to me and socially distancing. And at the time, we were just like talking, just casually having a conversation about whatever known to man at the time, or the traffic, because always there's construction going on. And I just remember that we had a really great and pleasant conversation. And for me, when I meet people, I usually ask their name after the conversation, because I feel like you never know if you're going to come across them again. And so after having the conversation with her, I was like, oh, what's your name? And she said her name was Happiness. And I've met many people with very unique names, but I never met someone with that name. And then we switch or exchange Instagram handles, and then literally you would see her name is like Happiness. And I was just like, wow, cool. Like, now I have a new friend named Happiness. And I asked her if I could take her photo, told her it would be on YouTube eventually. And she was like super nice about it. And so this is a portrait of my friend Happiness. The next photo is still at the parklet, sitting down, and there was like a lot of traffic. And a lot of buses come through because of all the commuting for people coming from New Jersey, or Jersey City at least, to New York City and going to work all that jazz, even if there's a pandemic going on. And I felt that I wanted to capture this particular scene, or pretty much advertisement, that is in Spanish, because it's also documenting the radio station that is here that's all in Spanish. And I just feel like if you're from Jersey City, seeing these type of advertisements is something common, but maybe from some outside perspective, you're just not used to seeing that on a local bus. And so I just felt that this really represented something when you think about Jersey City or West Side Avenue, and that's that photo. And I was trying to also capture the reflections of the passengers, and so it just was a whole thing. I honestly, sometimes you just never know what you're going to just get as a result. Next photo, so after I left Treehouse, the coffee shop, I started riding my bike, and then I remember I came across a nail salon. And at first, when I saw the nail salon, there was a person that I really wanted to photograph. I'm not gonna even describe it, but that's a whole nother thing. But I just felt I love, like, not love, but I feel it's necessary to ask permission for portraits. I know a lot of it goes against the grain of street photography, but I just feel so bad taking people's portraits of random strangers without their permission. I always want to give back their photo. I feel like that makes their day, and it's just only right. But that's my perspective. And so when I looked to the right of the nail salon, I saw this car. And this is a big insider, because at the time I just got my car a month after this, and my mom and I were always we've been just like going back and forth about car accessories, because she also got a new car. And I would joke around, because she's such a cool mom, that she should get this steering wheel cover with like the furry fuzzy stuff. And then when I saw this car, I saw that steering wheel cover, and I just instantly thought of my mom. And I feel that within anything or any item or household or even a car, it kind of shows like the accessories and details that you have can showcase a little bit of personality within the owner of the person. And so I just felt that documenting the steering wheel, and it was pretty cool because they also showed on the rear view mirror. That's why I like made sure that I also captured that. Kind of just has this isolating, all of the photos feel very isolating. That's what my professor said. But just going back, it just kind of made me think about like, oh, who's the owner of this car, and like why they wanted to have or personalize their car in this particular way. Also, I like the lines on the reflection on the window. I honestly feel like that's the reflection of the building of the nail salon going onto the window, and it just adds that texture as if like that was part of the window, but it's not. So that's something that I just saw or came across. Also, a big thing with me is I try my best not to capture the whole entire license plate of a car anywhere. That's just a pet peeve of mine. I just feel that that's kind of personal in a sense where I don't want someone to stalk. I don't know why you would stalk a random car, but who knows? And so I just don't try to get the whole license plate of cars. Okay, next photo. So what really intrigues me when I see any type of words or advertisement or like anything, words on anything, is when it's misspelled or the grammar is incorrect. Like, I have such OCD with trying to fix that. And I guess you could call me a grammar Nazi, but I'm not gonna like make you feel bad. But I just think it's funny when businesses especially have it. So the fact that over here in Jersey City or any city in general, I guess you would be used to having a bodega or a corner store or a convenience store. And so I just thought it was pretty funny that this corner store was called Super Convenience. It was just like everything compact into what I just explained. And originally I don't like to have like people in my shots, like I said, because then I would have to ask permission. And like you see this guy in this picture, I would like probably have to run across and be like, hey, like, can I ask to take your photo? But I felt that it really gave me this Edward Hopper vibe, where it's just like old school, like timeless photo, where it's like a corner of a building, it's a convenience store, and then there's like this just random guy just like smoking and just like in his own zone type of thing. And then, oh, and funny enough, I thought it was, any nail salon name to me is also funny. I don't know. I just think I have weird, strange humor maybe. And I just thought the fact that it was called Long Nails, so just like, okay, what made you come across and think of having that as the name of your business? And yeah, I just wanted to make it focus on like that corner. I didn't want to showcase like the other part of the street. I just wanted your attention or your eyes to go straight towards super convenience, and that's the story behind that photo. The next photo is a pretty funny one. It was as I rode my bike, I reached the park. We have a local park that's pretty big, and when I saw this, it was pretty much, I have a thing where I like anything that's like gates that are like cut open. That's like a typical Instagram looking photo, but this one's more unique, I feel like, because it's like a rail fence, but it's like metal, like hardcore metal, and it's like cut. And the fact that when I was like looking through, I saw these kids who were dressed up as like fantasy story characters, what have you, and they were just like having fun during the pandemic, just like minding their own business, just like playing some childhood, you know, game. And then the mom, if you look closely to the right, she's like busy taking photos of like this other kid like under this like tree, of like small bush of a tree. And then she saw me, and then she told all her kids to leave. Oh my god, it was like a thing. She didn't like approach me personally, but she just told them to like just go away. And this is what I was able to capture. But I just felt that the scenery was like, it just went hand in hand with the fact that they kind of looked like they were like in this like forest background, and they were dressed up as like these folk tale story characters. And then meanwhile there's like this like fence that's like cut open, so it just, and then it's like they're centered. So composition, I think of all those things, and I just thought it worked really well. And funny enough, there's a guy that's like a little bit further back, and it looks like he's about to go after them. It could be a whole story, but that's what I thought at the time when I was capturing this photo. This photo is like totally random compared to the one I just talked about. I just thought it was interesting when people hang signs and then other people think they have the right to just like scribble on other people's stuff or tag it or put graffiti or whatever. And I just thought it was interesting how they just put $22 hourly, as if like if you looked at the sign, like it would like stop you for a moment to think twice and be like, oh, should I actually like consider this? Should I sign up for this? And that's why I just, you know, like I said, signs and words, I think about the purpose of why it's there, and then think again if it's worth capturing. So I captured this photo. And then going back, so it's like I went from like one side of the street and then I like biked around. So this is like heading back to my house. Well, like I didn't go home yet, but heading back that way. So it's like another corner, and I just wanted to document this because this street, like that's intersecting West Side Avenue, is like super busy. And I just also felt that I wanted to capture this Filipino grocery store. I'm Filipino, but I've never been to this grocery store because on West Side Avenue there's like others that, you know, that my family goes to, but this one, I just wanted to capture that. I think corner stores in general maybe is a thing that I actually realize now that maybe I just have my attention to. And I just felt that I want to just document that because West Side Avenue wouldn't be a thing without Filipino stores and restaurants and stuff like that. There's a big Filipino community where I live. And like I said, this is just a big intersection that's super busy and always like traffic, and so I just wanted to document that. The next one, it just was interesting because I passed it and then I biked back real quick because I was like, is that what I really saw through the window? And I just thought it was funny that it was a school uniform store that pretty much was trying to sell uniforms for students, and then it had a mask, but because it's like headless, it was just like on the shoulder. But it also shows like within the times of like, this is what's going on. And what's even crazy is that West Side Avenue is always busy, and because we were like in a pandemic, it's just like was less people on streets. And it also kind of shows like how it is like at that time. And so I saw this and I just thought it was funny. And the fact that the pose of this mannequin, it's like not your typical like, you know, hey, look at me. It's just like more like power to the people type of pose. I don't know if that was like on purpose, but it has like this like power stance. This next photo is something I feel that any New Jerseyan would relate to. I mean, there's the lottery everywhere, but for some reason, people who are getting, I don't know if they're necessarily from Jersey, but people who get lottery tickets from New Jersey always usually win. I don't know why, but I mean, I have not won the lottery, but as you can tell when you look through this photo, you see all, like, it's pretty funny how, like, a corner store will have all of these, you know, winner advertisements, so then it will make you want to persuade you to go in there and hope that you're gonna win the lottery as well. And it's such a, you know, marketing strategy. And so I also thought it was funny because there's a scratch card that said like, I love dogs, and like whatever people make up just for people to get attracted and wanting to buy their product. I just thought it was just funny. So I captured this photo, and that just kind of describes what it is like to go to a corner store here. This is a very iconic landmark of a diner, and this is like really right next to my school, and every time people see this diner, they're like, I want to photograph it. I instantly think of Ben from In an Instant, because of the whole retro feeling vibe. And so it's literally called Miss America, and you can only imagine how many people have probably asked the owner that they want to like photograph or like film something here. And I don't know if people like are able to. I never asked myself, but yeah, there's good food, and I just documented it. Usually like at a certain time when it closes, it's like better because it's empty, the parking lot, and you can capture it. I have like other photos of Miss America, but like I just think I just took a quick snapshot because I just wanted to make sure I documented it while I was riding my bike. So this is like further down West Side Avenue. This next photo, this is at the baseball field. I just, like, again, signage, I just gravitated to just seeing the fact that it was like a sign that said Guardian, but then there's like, it's like a fence company, and then like I don't know, something about the textures within like the lines of the fence, and just how they're all going like crisscrossing and just like intersecting within each other, and that's just pretty much what captured my eye. Oh, and also, just looking at it now, because it said manufactured and erected by, and I was just like, really? Like, out of all words to use, like, that's what they use. Next photo I saw was that I thought that was funny. I don't know, I guess this is a comedic project, maybe, for me, but very left field because I usually shoot portraits, that this fire hydrant, it's like, or where people, I don't know if that's really like not your typical fire hydrant, but pretty much still the fact that because there are two, it's called, you see on top there's a signage that says Siamese Services. I don't know what 151 means. Maybe it's like that's number 151 and then the location. but I just thought it was like smart. Like if you think about like two Siamese cats, they're like, you know, kind of stuck together, pretty much the same as like this fire hydrant. And so I just thought it was interesting how there's a sign that goes with the fire hydrant. And I like how there's like a light, medium, dark exposure within the photo, and that just kind of gives it some contrast. Next photo, back to the fence and signage. I thought it was really random because this was at like this packaging delivery parking lot, and then you just see this random sign that says Jesus is the truth, the life, the way, John 14:6. And then I just was wondering like who taped that there. It's obviously maybe some religious person, but just the fact that it was like placement was like there. And I just was wondering like, oh, like when people would drive into this parking lot, do they like instantly always see that sign? Like what does that mean? So I just captured that. Maybe it's like words of wisdom for the day. That was the reason, like what I thought when I saw this. The next photo, so this is a very infamous car, sedan, that just like drives around on West Side Avenue all the time, and it's like filled with a lot of stickers. And the fact that when I think about like how I see America, I think obviously very patriotic. There are a lot of people, especially in the suburbs, where you see them like having the American flag in front of their house and what have you. So I just thought that the fact that this car had an American flag attached to it, plus there was an American flag behind it with the building, I just felt like it kind of like was cohesive within the photo, and I just documented like that. I just wanted, it goes back to showing the personality of like who the owner of the car could be. And I just, the lines again, it just like makes your eye move around within the photo. And that's pretty much it. I don't know what the stickers or the things that are symbolized, but you could only imagine what this person, what it took to put all of this together on their car. And then the next car, that picture I have is the total opposite, which literally was like a few feet away at the gas station, where literally it has like no wheels. It's like needs help. It's just like hanging like on there. And I just thought this, you wouldn't see this just anywhere. You would see this definitely in Jersey City, where like there's just a car that's just like needs to get repaired. It's broken down. It's not like there's a mechanic there that's like fixing it like while I was there, just literally just like that. And so I felt that I had to capture that. And then the gas station, let alone like behind it, there's like usually signage that says like the price of like how much the gasoline is, and it's not even there. So it just felt like a very rundown old beat of a gasoline station, plus the car goes with it. And that's literally the end of West Side Avenue. And yeah, that's pretty much, I know my friend Chris mentioned like choose 1, 3, 5 photos, but because that's like, you know, surpassed the deadline, I felt that I could just showcase this whole thing all together. Felt that maybe sharing this and my insight on the photos that I shot just would intrigue you or interest you, or while you're eating your food, you're like maybe somewhat entertained by this and you learn something from it, and hopefully that you would go out there and go like have no excuse to why you can't photograph anything. You literally have the outside world, your neighborhood to capture, and there's so many ongoing things that could be happening in the littlest and slightest ways, and you never know what you can find unless you just go out there and either, like me, I rode my bike, but you could easily go for a walk. It's not really that hard. You just gotta go out and take your camera and just take photos. And so hopefully I was able to somewhat inspire you, and it was my pleasure to share with you the stories behind these photos. Like I said, I just think that when it comes to how I see America, I see it as the very urban, you know, busy. There's like an upscale and a downscale of how I see America, and I didn't want to be too political or controversial with my work for this project, but I wanted to just do something simple that was still representing me and the way how I see things. And I chose black and white because I felt like anytime I think of like newspapers and especially Tri-X, the film stock, I think of that's just the way to go when it comes to documenting this type of work. And yeah, I just hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned till the next video. Sayonara. It's the end of the video, so don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't, it will help me in the long run. Okay, bye.